Fiancé cheated on me with my brother, so I broke up with her. Now, she regrets it because brother is a womanizer. I, male 28, was living what I thought was the perfect love story. Engaged to the one of my dreams, Selena, whom I met in college and had an immediate connection with her because of her kind and extroverted behavior. For me, it was a complete fairy tale. But, as we all know, not all fairy tales have happy endings, and that's exactly when I woke up from my dream to the harsh reality. Our relationship was long distance after dating in college for a few years, and us coming from different cultures made everything pretty hard for us to continue. So after 2 years of relationship, we called it quits and went on our separate ways. But destiny had other plans for us. I have a younger brother named, I'll call him John. He is a very extroverted person, always partying and doing clubs. Unlike me, he was a very spoiled kid, as he is the youngest in the household, so no one really disciplined him for his actions, language, or morals. I love my brother, but we have a very off relationship. My parents always put my choices aside to fulfill his because he was younger. After becoming a German translator, I rarely met my parents and my brother, except on occasions or at parties. It wasn't like I had no affection for them, but the way they treated me made me distant. For some time, my brother used to come to my place drunk every night, and I gave him the space to rest. He was one hell of a butt, and he doesn't even have a job, just living on my parents' money. Due to John's extroverted behavior, Selena came into my life again. John started working as a bartender in a very famous bar because my dad eventually got tired of his crap, and he doesn't have a proper degree, so he needed to restart. John invited me to the party, which was hosted by him and the club. It was very loud and crowded. I met many college friends, and there she was, sitting on the chair talking to John, who was seemingly flirting with her, which made me chuckle. Seeing her after so many years made me realize that I still loved her as much as I did back then. It made me feel fresh and as if we were still together. I waved towards her nervously. She walked towards me and hugged me. We talked and filled our cups with each other's life information. It was an amazing feeling. John walked towards me and he was surprised to find that we knew each other. I left the club and we shared our contacts with each other. Something about her behavior made me realize that maybe she wanted me again. Her signs, and the way she was talking to me. One good thing was we both didn't date anyone seriously after our breakup. I was not sure about starting things again, but after so many years I felt happier. The reason behind our first breakup was long distance, but now we both are working in the same cities. I was hopeful maybe it could work out. Selena and John were great friends, and it was a good thing and surprising. I wanted to know when Selena and John met, but I felt awkward asking her that, so I accepted it and let the good times roll. We started seeing each other and talking for endless hours to make up for the gap. After a few months, I asked her if she wanted to join me for dinner at my parents' house, where I was going to propose to her for marriage because now asking for a relationship felt stupid, and I should be clear with what I exactly want for both of us. After dinner, I took her to my mom and showed her my childhood pictures and everything. We were laughing and giggling. After a minute, I took a deep breath and gave her a diary in which I had written letters for us. She opened it, and there was a ring and a card inside, asking her if she wanted to marry me. She looked at me with teary eyes and hugged me tightly, saying yes. It was a heartwarming moment for both of us, and something that was going to change both of our lives. My parents already knew her, and they liked her. I asked her if her parents would have any problem because of cultural things, to which she beautifully replied that she was going to insist and that it was her life and she wanted to marry me. We decided on a proper engagement party after she got her parents' permission. She asked me to meet her parents so they both could agree to this. We were still sitting and chatting while having an ice cream. John was scrolling down on his phone, and Selena was looking over him after every conversation as if she wanted him to join us. She had a bit of ice cream on her lips, as I was about to wipe it off. John looked at her and wiped it with his thumb, looking at her seductively. I'm a calm man, and here I lost my calmness. Both Selena and John laughed, and it was so hard for me to see. She looked at me and apologized and said, "Don't mind us. We're just really close best friends." John interjected by saying that brother would never mind, and he knows how best friends act. I laughed and immediately asked them where they both met. The smile from their faces disappeared, and they both looked at each other worriedly. I looked at them, giggling and asking whether I had asked an offensive question. Finally, Selena replied and told me that she met him in the hospital when he got into an accident back in December. It was a lie. A complete lie. John was out of the country back in December. The look on John's face eventually confirmed the lie. John tried to cover it up, but I stopped him in between and said that's okay if you guys don't want to tell me the truth. The lying was just not it. He said that they had met at a party where John felt sick after heavy drinking, and Selena came to his rescue. After a week, we both went to meet Selena's mom and dad. Trust me, it wasn't an easy thing to do. Her father was very strict, but after insisting, and with the help of Selena's mother, he finally agreed, Actually, it took 3 or 4 meetings to get this done, but he's a very nice guy, and to be honest, I would do the same for my daughter. Selena and John's relationship was indeed like best friends, and after the arrival of Selena, I felt him becoming more responsible and understanding. He used to ask me for advice, and Selena did as well. Both Selena and John were of the same age, so I thought that's the reason they vibed a lot with each other. Nothing defeats the feeling when her parents finally agreed, and I never believed in destiny, but it was like magic, losing her and finding her again, and that's for life, though with an unexpected turn. She's a very humble woman, and that's why I loved her, but sometimes I did doubt her around John. Oh, they're best friends all right. Best friends who jump in bed together. He knows more than just the outside of those lips. Why would you not question more of how they met if you knew it was a lie? And why would you continue on with the engagement without first crossing the T's and dotting the I's? Your brother clearly overstepped a boundary by touching her like that. Not even best friends do that. It's just plain disrespect. Update 1. Hello all. It's been a month since my last update, as I had pretty bad anxiety and overthinking because of Selena and John's behavior, which resulted in a heated as well as an assuring argument between us a week before our engagement. Their touchy behavior and extreme closeness after knowing how John acted around her made me feel nauseated. All of this escalated the night Selena was staying in my parents' beach house as we organized a beach party, which was supposed to be fun but turned pretty bad. Selena was wearing her bikini, and she looked extremely hot. She had her friends and cousins, and they were all having fun. I went out to arrange the lights for the night party, and it took me 2 hours as I was heading towards her on the beach. What I saw almost made me throw up. Selena was giving John a lap dance. It wasn't a proper lap dance to be precise, but she was literally all over him, and he was rubbing his hands all over her butt. I ran towards them angrily and shouted, "What the F was going on?" Everybody started looking at me, and she looked scared. John kept apologizing and said it wasn't like that. It was just a dare. I grabbed her hand and took her to our room. I punched my hand on the wall and threw each of my thoughts on her face. Selena looked terrified and disgusted. She said there was nothing between them. She told me that if she was going to be disloyal to me or attracted to my brother, she would have let me know the day I met her. She also said that I was just overanalyzing and John was her best friend, and before meeting her, they both used to have a lot of fun, and if that's bothering me, she will keep her boundaries from now on. She also claimed that I have always been an overthinker, and that it's normal to feel insecure sometimes, but I should give her a chance and trust her. Did I forget about it? No. Did I think of it again and again? Yes. That glimpse of them was pretty hard to forget, and I couldn't sleep for days. But they both maintained their distance. Mom was pretty mad at John for acting like a butt and scolding him. He apologized before that, and I forgave him. Finally, the day of the engagement arrived, and everything went pretty well. We decided to celebrate our engagement in the chapel, where we took our own vows, which was fun and emotionally and romantically beautiful. She looked extremely beautiful and like a dream in front of me. We danced and had so much fun. It was the most beautiful thing ever to happen in my life. And if you told me it would have happened 4 years ago, I would have laughed. John was pretty heavy on the drink, and he danced like crazy. Selena never drinks, so I refused to do it either. After the party, we both kind of prayed and made wishes for each other. She kept kissing my face like crazy, and it was so cute. I took her to my place, and we made out with each other. It was so hard for me to control, and then I had to ask if she wanted to do it. She held my hands and told me that she wanted to wait until marriage and make it special. I laughed and agreed with her. A few days later, while coming back to my place, I decided to meet Selena after work. As I entered her lane, I saw John leaving her house. I went inside and waited for her to speak about John's arrival, but she didn't talk about him and instead served dinner, which felt tasteless because I kept thinking about that, and many questions started coming into my head. I couldn't stop but ask Selena about John. She replied very casually that yeah, John was not feeling well, so he dropped by to get some meds. I couldn't sleep the whole night after that, thinking about what might be the case behind her acting like that. After everything that was happening, I kept questioning whether my doubts were true or I was overthinking it because she had already reassured me, and if I asked her, she would think I was spying on her. I wanted all of these thoughts to go away as they were making a negative review of Selena in my mind. She seemed suspicious to me by the way she acted. She always kept her phone upside down, and I didn't even know her password. I never saw her doing something on her phone in front of me. She always had her internet off, which was very weird. The next morning, I asked Selena if she wanted to get married next month, and it would be a destination wedding. I wanted to plan it with her, but her reply was dry and uninteresting. She asked me to wait as she wanted to get promoted in her hospital, so she couldn't avoid taking leaves for any purpose. She used to reply, text, and call me all the time, but now her replies are late, and she's always irritated, so I gave her the space she needed. totally gaslighting you and making you seem like you're nuts for trying to set boundaries. The reality of the situation was that she was indeed giving him a lap dance, and his hands were all over her. I'm not sure in what world that's okay for anybody to do to anyone else's partner. You're a fool for wanting to continue on with the engagement when all signs point to the fact that she's into your brother and he's touched way more than her butt. Update 2. Hello guys. It's been 2 months since the last update, and I don't know how to put everything in words to elaborate on the situation, but sometimes your overthinking isn't overthinking. Our story was a fairy tale and a dream of my life, which turned into a nightmare in a few moments. It took a very hard toll on my mental health, and I am seeing a psychologist. After her dry text and behavior, she refused to meet me, saying it was her workload. I used to purposely call John and Selena to see if they were together, but they never picked up my call, which made me doubt it further. I was going mad with sleepless nights, thinking my fiancé might be screwing my brother, and I needed to find the truth. But instead of making assumptions that might not be true in reality, I decided to check up on her on the weekend and surprise her with her favorite macaroons and flowers. I drove towards her place and knocked on the door, but nobody answered. After knocking 3 or 4 times, I stepped back, and suddenly I saw John's car on the side of the road. My stomach was heating up with anxiety and I panicked. I didn't know what to do, so I called her, but she didn't pick up. I was going to call John, but then I decided to stop and go back inside my car. After a while, I finally saw John coming out of her house, and my overthinking came true. How can they both meet and not tell me about it? After promising me to maintain her boundaries and respect my feelings, she was meeting him behind my back. I don't know what their relationship was, but meeting someone behind is minor cheating, which leads you to a manic state of thoughts and insecurity. You cannot eat, sleep, or focus on the work. Your body becomes numb, and you don't know how to deal with it. As soon as John left, I got a call from Selena. I asked her if I could come over, and she immediately agreed. I wiped off my tears and went inside. I gave her flowers, and she hugged me tightly and kissed my face for 2 straight minutes. I sat on the sofa, and she placed her head on my lap, having one of the macaroons. I looked at her innocent face and couldn't believe that she could do something like that. Selena was a very religious and high-moral person. After being in each other's arms for a while, I wanted to go to the washroom. After I was done, I was washing my hands, and then I saw something that changed my life, and almost died of a panic attack. There was a positive pregnancy test lying next to the dustbin, maybe thrown in haste, but it never made it inside. As soon as I took it in my shivering hands, it sent shockwaves to my body. The test was like a dagger in my heart. Selena was banging on the door of the bathroom. She knew. She effing knew. I opened the door with the test in my hand and tears in my eyes, and she looked at me in disbelief, fear, and lots of other emotions. I couldn't find any words to express my betrayal coming from her. It was to be expected from John, but from her? I asked her in a stammering voice, how could she do this to me? She got on her knees and started begging me, asking me to give her the chance to explain and tell the truth. I didn't have any courage, so I left immediately. I was not expecting her to ruin my life when she was the one who had fixed it. Maybe the truth always lingered in front of my eyes, but I was heedless to see it. I drove my way to my parents' house, and every dot started to connect one after the other. Both of them were calling me again and again. She was manipulating me all the time, and that's why she kept apologizing for no reason. She lied to me about her virginity, and she was effing pregnant with my own brother. I reached my parents' house and told them everything. John was sitting there, and his face showed no remorse. The anger was running down my veins, and I took it as an opportunity to tell my parents how they had a hand in ruining my life as well. They were the ones who failed to raise their kid and raised an a-hole who had no affection or care but a proper selfish snake who didn't even hesitate to bite his own brother. Mom and Dad kept apologizing, and she kept crying and hugging me, but I didn't hug her back. It was their mistake for ignoring his actions and the effed up things he pulled from his past history. He could have been better. I called Selena's parents over to discuss the matter. When everyone gathered, I placed the pregnancy test on the table, and Selena's parents were disgusted by it. Her mother slapped her and asked her what she did wrong in raising her and how she could go against God and her religious beliefs. To be honest, I don't care about religious beliefs, but her betrayal and such low moral values made my skin crawl. I knew her, and it is hard to believe, and I swear to the Lord that I would never be able to put my trust in anyone ever again. I broke off my engagement with Selena on that day. As she was pregnant with my brother, they decided to get them married. You really didn't have to be a brainiac to see this coming. Update 3. Our family decided that John would marry Selena with shared guilt and secrets, but the most surprising part was yet to come. Everything for Selena went downhill. The only person who didn't get his karma was John, and as for Selena, she suffered terribly. John was a douchebag. He had a warning attached to him with the reputation of a charming womanizer. Commitment was an alien thing for him, and the whole pregnancy thing was suffocating him. The reason why Selena agreed to the engagement was not that she was in love with me, but to get John back, and she pretended all the time with me. She confessed that herself, and now, when John was asked for commitment, his interest disappeared immediately. I was staying out of this, but I knew everything from Selena's mother. She used to call me and cry to me as John was asking Selena to abort the child. Selena indeed realized that she was just another conquest for him, and regretted what she did to me. Her mother didn't let her abort it because of their religious beliefs. The honeymoon phase she thought she was going to get by making him jealous through me ended in a tremendous nightmare and ruined many lives, and as for John, it was basically another stupid, baseless thing. He didn't care about his own child and traumatized her. In between all of this, I was on medications and attended many orientations for mental health, but it wasn't even close to better, so I gave my interview for an abroad job and decided to leave the country for a while. I had no one who cared for me. My parents were just doing their duty, and John never even apologized to me. What else could I expect from him? Even though the worst thing I faced, I felt bad and wished her the best for the baby because of the way she manipulated me. She got manipulated by him too. John was the biggest player with his charismatic personality and the love and affection he showed, and then suddenly stopped can make anyone go mad. Whatever happened was part of life, but he could have been a dad and a good husband and given her a good life. She finally decided to be a single mother, and my family agreed on child support and even decided to give her a house for both her and the baby. I finally cleared my interview and left the country. Yet the pain of the past was never too far from the surface. It was as if a shadow loomed over me, a reminder of scars, and for her as well. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. She traded her beautiful future with years of regrets with my brother, and for her remorse, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix of emotions. While I was angry, I was also glad to see that she saw her mistake. But as for John, he continued doing what he did, disowned by my parents, but he didn't care at all, and never showed any inclination to change. I have moved on a lot from my past, and I have also learned a lot, especially to trust my instincts and follow my guts. Thankfully, you learned a lesson, but I'm sorry you had to learn the hard way. It's unfortunate that John was shaped this way by your parents, who ultimately ended up disowning him. Although he didn't care, they're the ones who spoiled him and enabled him all these years. He never learned that actions had consequences. Destiny tempted you with this one, OP, and you should have run for the hills. Some things just aren't meant to be. What would you have done? Would you have stayed on the old engagement train? Let us know in the comments below.